Hey, everybody, it's Doug Green, and I'm the publisher of Technology Reseller News, and we are back with another edition of Pots and Shots with the fabulous Jake Jacoby of TELCLOUD. Jake, thank you for joining me again.
Thanks, Doug. Good to be here. Appreciate it.
This is exciting. In this podcast, we're going to be talking actually about a little bit about the hardware. We're getting into some of the nitty gritty here, and we're going to be doing actual little show and tell.
Show and tell,
And
yeah.
I'm going to very carefully say the names of these products. So we have with us in the studio the POTSCAST-8-LTE PC228-LTE versus the POTSCAST-2-LTE PC222-LTE. So and I think, Jake, we're gonna make you actually explain the naming nomenclature regime as well as some other things. But yeah, tell me first of all what these are and what the difference is, why it matters to us, what one versus the other.
Yeah. So good question. And again, in technology, all these different devices get different names and all, it's kind of obscure. So let's talk about, we talked in the past about, CPaaS and infrastructure and the
Yep.
back end. Well, there's a piece of equipment or multiple pieces of equipment that need to be delivered to the customer premise. And so we've designed 4 different devices with different options. The 2 that we're going to talk about today, the only difference between them are does it support 8 ports, which means 8 phone lines, or does it support 2 phone lines, right? A little bit less expensive for the 2 port, a little bit more expensive for the 8 port, but the name behind it, we call it the POTSCAST. So this is our POTSCAST 8 ports. So you can see there's 8 ports, 8 phone lines here that are supported.
So
We've
those
got,
are actually that's where you're plugging in the phones.
this is where the phone lines go. Yes.
Okay, cool.
So,
All right.
and so you'll see on here that it's connected. So now we need connectivity, right? And so we have 2 WANs. So a WAN could be a broadband, it could be a satellite, it could be anything that brings connectivity. We have a 3rd WAN here, which is Wi-Fi as WAN. And then we have a 4th WAN, which is actually the cellular. And we've got this nice little LCD screen on here that kind of shows up and tells you what phone lines are on this and what things are like that. Now, we called it, again, it's, branding. We come up with different names, but we call it POTSCAST. And the POTS, obviously, we're doing POTS line replacement. The CAST stands for cellular analog signal transmission. So again, in emergency service, you need a cellular signal to be able to transmit those signals no matter what, even if the power goes out. So cellular is what we use for that, and it's obviously cellular right here. We also use, as we've talked about in the past, when you put this in the telco room, it's the worst place to put the cellular, right? So you can't detach this cellular from this box. So what we've done with all of our boxes is we have these WAN ports and we support PoE. So what that means is that we can take a router and move that router up to 250 feet away so that we can get that cellular signal, right? We can do that with an Ericsson box, a Peplink, and an InHand, an ATEL box, and Seago, Digi. All of the best brands in the world out there work with this device, and we can power them. This has a battery in it that lasts 24 hours. You can add extra batteries to go even further than that. And then we have things like dry contacts so that you can do programming to, different fire panels and elevators and things like that. So this is the 8 port. Okay. And then 8 port POTSCAST with LTE. And this is our 2 port. So a little bit thinner, 2 phone lines here. Again, WAN and LAN. Again, 24-hour battery, LCD screen. So you can see that. Cellular connectivity. So again, different options, but these are the devices that we've been talking about that go in the telco room. Again, even though it's very nice to have it all in one, right? All in one package so that you can just put this in there. If the signal is great in that room, you're done. You've got it there. However, signal is challenged in a lot of those rooms. So that's why we support the PoE and we want to have that connectivity somewhere else.
Hey, Jake, when you held that up, I noticed we have 4 green lights on, but it's not plugged into anything. So what are we seeing there?
Yeah, so obviously it's not plugged into everything,
Right,
right? So
right,
it's in a status of the 4G, the SIM, the lines of service, the cellular connectivity, right? So this again, not connected to anything,
right.
right? But
Not
it's gonna
connected.
last 24 hours, right? And so
So that's
same
actually
with
working right now. You could plug a phone
right,
in, and you're working.
plug it in. And same with this device, right? So you've got your LCD, right, on power. You've got your lights on the other side that show
There are the
you
lights. There are the lights.
number of
Yep.
lines. Here's our lines. We've got 2 lines registered. So you make phone calls out of these 2 lines right now, right?
Right
And
now. No problem.
right, it's the biggest cell phone in the world, right? But it's
And then
so
for
like
people to
that.
understand why this is so critical, because that's why I brought up the green lights. So, an earthquake has occurred, a fire has occurred, some
That's right.
huge disruption has occurred. The power is off in the building, power is off
Right.
in the elevator.
That's right.
I'm still in
That's why
touch with the
you're
outs.
stuck. And you're stuck in that elevator, right?
Yeah, I'm stuck in
That
that elevator.
this will still work, right?
This
That's the
still
point.
works. Okay.
And that's how we meet these life safety standards, that phone, you're going to be able to push the button, make a phone call no matter what.
Now, by the way, I will relate to you. I really literally had this in the show season. I was in Nashville, Tennessee, and in an
Mhm.
historic building, and I didn't have the code to get out of the elevator. The elevator actually shut me in because I didn't have a code.
Oh, wow.
And I was very grateful that I was able to talk to somebody. So
It's
you
right.
never use these things until you use them.
Right.
But there's nothing worse than being in an elevator and you're not moving.
You don't think about it, right? You just, you go in,
Right.
it just takes you from floor to floor. But what if that thing stops, right? You're stuck in this box, suspended in some floor somewhere. And, it gets, yeah, it's scary. So you need a lifeline out. So,
When you and I, one of our discussions, one of the more dramatic ones we did at atop one of the big casinos there in Vegas, and we could see the rooftops as far as the eye could see, all the way out to the hills. Hundreds and hundreds of buildings with elevators. So that's certainly one of the deployments. Are there other deployments for the POTS?
absolutely. So fire alarms, fire systems need, POTS lines, security systems. We talked about elevators. There's still in healthcare and in commercial real estate and legal, there's a massive infrastructure of fax lines still. There's still modem lines out there. Some of the weather systems use modems, very old modems. There
Government?
are SCADA applications that like meter reading, things like that, water level reading. So there's postage machines, there's credit card terminals. There's a ton of lines out there. Again, millions of lines left in the United States, billions of lines globally. So
I'm glad you brought up a credit card because these days, I mean, I don't know. I've been to increasingly into places where basically they won't take cash, right?
right,
But that means
right,
they're totally out of business. If they lose that connection with the processing, they're out of
yeah,
business.
100. Yeah, it's very interesting. And so most of the credit card machines, if they're using something in the recent, it's using internet, which is
Right.
nice because the POTSCAST device and the solution that TELCLOUD brings is not only phone lines, it's internet as well, right? So you can leverage that internet connection for your terminal, for your computer to get access to use your Shopify, etc. But some of the very old credit card terminals still use dial-up, right? And so they plug in a phone line and they need to dial up and make that connection. So that's what we support.
When we're looking at these products that you're presenting here today, are they modular, scalable? Are they reliable?
Yeah. So it's interesting. So when we first started in this business, we started leveraging the best technology in the world. We went out and found the best routers, like the ones that I mentioned, and we still use those, right? Because nobody makes them better than the guys that are dedicated to that. What we found though, and when we looked at the analog side, is there's a lot of ATAs out there that just didn't cut what we needed to do, and so we tried some of the best hardware that we could find. We put our firmware on it to make it better, and it wasn't cutting it, right? So we are dedicated to building the best solution in the world that's going to last for many years to come. And so we had to go engineer this. So we've been working on 2 years. These boxes are out now. They're tested. They're have every certification that is required. They're UL listed. They're, they work with all the fire marshals, all the, all the requirements. And then we're getting the requirements for other countries as well, and making sure that they meet those standards. So yes, they are purpose built for this business, and they do what no other solution out there can do. Most of the solutions out there are still relying on voice over IP. We use a small portion for voice over IP. Most of it is IP based, right? And so it is next generation, and these are purpose built to work for the next 20 years. And so, our partners, we have hundreds of, technology partners that bring the TELCLOUD solution to their customers. They are guaranteed to them is the best in the world, right? And we love to partner, with these organizations.
Today we've actually been showcasing product. Is that something we should do in the field? Are you suggesting that we actually show people what we're going to do?
That's a great idea. We could do that, right? I think potentially maybe even showing like how it's installed and what it looks like in the field, and how you can make phone calls. When we go to trade shows, we bring this kind of we call it like a dog and pony case, right? It's a
Yep,
Pelican case.
I've seen it.
Those, right? And we have a nice big red phone where you pick it up and you can make a phone call, or you call into and it rings. So I think visuals are great, because some of this is conceptual and it's maybe harder to understand, but when you actually see it and you can pick up a phone, and it makes it real, right? So yeah, that's a great idea.
And let's just hold on that point for we're in a vast hall, and in a building that's not really made so great for communication. Basically, if you're not on that Wi-Fi, we're not on the Wi-Fi, and you guys are showing, hey, this is real time. We're making phone calls. We're plugged in. We're making calls.
That's absolutely
and if
right.
the power was out in this hall, we were making calls. Yeah,
That's
you're in business. You're connected. So hey, Jake, it's that time. So
right.
in addition to looking at pots and shots and looking at the gear and so on, as we did today, we are on a tour of the very best tequilas in the whole world. What do you have for us today?
So this one is it is an extra añejo. So again, remember it's aged. So this one is aged 5 years. It's called Herencia Histórico, and it's a Grand Reserve. So this is a beautiful bottle. It is it's actually on the lighter side of an extra añejo. So, but it's again traditionally made. If you can see that, but beautiful bottle, very, very smooth. Again, numbered, not hand labeled, but numbered. Every bottle's numbered. It's from Jalisco, and an extra añejo. But if you can find this, it's a very smooth extra añejo.
This ain't mass-produced stuff. This is handmade stuff. Yeah,
this is handmade, like very small batch, but fantastic. Yeah, if you can. Again, big thing is so take down the names, Google it, and see, or ask ChatGPT where you can find this stuff. And if you highly recommend this if you like tequila. So,
and I see the 5 there. It's the 5 years, and as ever,
5 years.
These bottles are like works of art.
Yeah, just different, beautiful, like a lot of history there. Yeah, they're great. And then again, I'm giving you high level information on it, but type it into ChatGPT. It'll give you a whole history of the tequila, how it's made, where it comes from, how long it's aged, what kind of barrel, what the notes are. Like, does it have vanilla notes or oak or whatnot? But yeah, there's a lot that you can find out there. So,
well, Jake, I really want to thank you for joining me today. This is a part of our ongoing Pots and Shots series. Everybody, if this is the first time you've listened to this, we have a whole assembly of these short podcasts that explain everything you need to know about pots, and also the best tequilas in the world. Jake, where can we learn more about TELCLOUD and your pot solutions?
Yeah, absolutely. Join us at our website at telcloud.com, or give us a ring. We love to talk to you. 844-900-2270. We're here to partner with you. We're here to help, whether it's full service, you need us to do everything, and you maintain that relationship with your customer, or you just need our back end technology that's licensable. We're happy to help you, and we'd love to partner with you.
Jake, again, thank you very much indeed, and I'll see you next time on Pots and Shots.
Thanks, Doug. See you next time.